Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best.
Grey Cup is upon us this weekend. BC Lions taking the easiest way possible there, sitting on the couch, winning, and they basically were sitting on the couch the way they manhandled the Edmonton Eskimos. I think the Stampeders could have given BC a better game, but now we have the Lions against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I really like the matchup defensively for the Bombers against them. That's going to be an interesting battle, but I just don't think that offense can do anything against BC's defense.
Well, and it's the run game that's key to the Winnipeg offense, and will Chris Garrett be able to get through and bounce through that first level of attack the way he has against the Hamilton Tiger Cats? That's hard to say because the defensive line of the in the front seven of that BC Lions is the strength. Solomon Elimimian, he hits hard and he fills holes. I like what they do up front, especially with their tackles, Khalif Mitchell and Aaron Hunt. Those guys are hard to get any space against, so that's going to be the key matchup in this one. I don't think Chris Garrett's going to be running for 190 yards against the BC Lions, but will he get them enough efficiency that they can keep that line offense off the field? That is going to be fun to watch. Travis Lulay against the secondary, the guys that really ball hawk for the Bombers. It's going to be a fun matchup, but I just see the BC Lions having so much momentum right now. I don't know what can derail it.
What an interesting season for them.
Oh, wow.
You know, starting at 0-5, and even Wally Buono's admitted, we were probably one loss away from blowing this whole thing up.
Yeah.
But then, for whatever reason, and you can look at a number of reasons, Wally starts doing some things he's never done before, bringing some guys in the middle of the year, and he started to right the ship. Having a quarterback that's as mobile and as dangerous as Lulay is certainly gives him a leg up on the competition, but everything fell into place. Even the secondary played well. You know, they get a consistent kicker who should have been retired in some people's books years
Back
ago.
in 2005 when he missed that 18-yard field goal?
Exactly, but I mean, here's a guy that now they're talking about could play for another 2 years.
Well, why not? I was actually making the argument he could be the Canadian Male Athlete of the Year. Think about it.
Or the guy that he beat out in Montreal could be the top Canadian in the CFL, could he not?
He just feels automatic whenever he steps up there. You just have no qualms about him kicking a 45-yarder or a 46-yarder. That wasn't Paul McCallum's game years ago. He was erratic. He was under 70 at one point in his career, and now he's up into the high 70s. He's built that average back up so that he's the third highest kicking percentage of all time behind Sandro DeAngelis and Damon Duvall, two guys who had shorter careers in the 90s, or sorry, in the 2000s.
Yeah.
This team, the Lions team, they're just deep at all areas now. And had they blown it up, as you said, back in week 7, after they lost to the Bombers, that would have been really devastating because they were 1-6 at the time, but all they needed was to string some wins together, and they had a favorable schedule going into the middle part of the year. They've turned that into a great year. They kept with it, and kudos to Wally for not doing anything drastic.
Boy, oh boy.
And why is the rest of the CFL? The rest of the CFL has to get blamed for letting them get Arlen Bruce for nothing.
Yeah.
Because that was and they had got Tad Cornegay for nothing.
Yeah.
Those guys clearly could have helped any other team. And the rest of the CFL let the BC Lions take them.
Well, why did they let their teams let them go? Why did Saskatchewan? I mean, they needed help desperately.
Right, but that was the old regime, and they were trying to figure out what they were doing. They were playing Tad Cornegay at a wide side corner position. He wasn't suited for.
Yeah.
He's more of a halfback.
Sure.
And they let him go, and because of financial reasons, they tried to free some money up. Same with Arlen Bruce. Hamilton let him go because they didn't have the quarterback capable of getting him the ball anymore, and he wasn't going to be one of their better receivers because his initial speed isn't there, but he finds holes. So they let him go, big salary. The Lions keep taking that on and make a run. It all pays off in the end.
Wally's got him working. I mean, you got to give a tip of the hat to Wally. I mean, as we said before, if it was this easy, everyone would do it, right?
Exactly.
And that's what's cool about him. He's always in the hunt. He's had some bad years. Last year, the start. This year, the start. And he just kind of finds ways to win, doesn't he?
Well, and I like the fact that everybody's talking about his 500 record in divisional finals, except that he's been in 16 of them, or 18 of them. Yeah, 18 of them.
Yeah.
Well, you start to scratch 18 out of 23 years that he's coaching. That's a pretty good percentage, right? That's every year you got a chance to go to the Grey Cup. And half the time that he's gone to the divisional final, he goes to the Grey Cup, and half the time he wins that. So, you know, it's not bad to have a 500 record when you get into the playoffs like that.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Wally Buono will be remembered for his days as the boss here or his days as a boss in BC?
A lot of people still remember him as the Stampeders head coach. And a lot of people really regret the fact that it turned out that he left this town. And he likely would have turned them back around and, had them back winning every year like he did so many times in the 90s and into the 2000s. And everybody seems to forget that 2001 Grey Cup. He was still here. He was still,
and they were below 500
That was a great coaching job in itself. So
especially when
interesting
your quarterback's Crandall.
Yes, Marcus Crandall, which I thought it was very funny when he's walking off the field, shaking hands with a guy he helped make.
I thought the same thing.
And I thought, geez, that was his Grey Cup MVP 10 years ago, and now that guy is the opposing offensive coordinator. You don't think Wally had a lot to do with that? I mean, it's interesting. They're having an emotional time there in Vancouver. They lost the trainer's son to a car accident just last weekend. It was just an incredibly emotional scene in their locker room after the game. I wasn't there, obviously. I just watched it on tape, and it just feels like this team has all the momentum because of those type of things and the coach that has brought them this far.
They just don't seem like they're going to go down. No. I mean, they're too good in so many areas. Where is their weakness? Where would you say that weakness is?
Well, their run game isn't that great. I mean, they're not a power running game because they don't have a power back, a guy who runs the clock out. And that's why it was a little, you know, they got down to the end of the game. There was no chance that they were going to let the Eskimos come back. But, you know, if they had a running game where they just pounded the ball 6 yards at a time, they probably would have run the clock out easier. Not that that's going to be much of an effect if they have a big lead again.
Tired of going to redneck barbecues? Well, you better call Rocky Mountain Barbecue. Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best. Great tasting food, clean and efficient service. Check us out online or call Rocky Mountain Barbecue.